Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today here on the Self Connection, where we have conversations with a group of ascended masters known as the multitude of the greater good.
Kelly asked the question. She is the ultimate question asker, and I channel information from the collection, from the collective known as the multitude of the greater good, who have access to information from the day of creation to the present time, including what each of you have decided to accomplish in this lifetime. And they address issues that will help each and every one become more in connection with their own self, themselves. So that's what we do, and keep watching and you'll see how it works.
Awesome. All right, Ginny. So I usually don't tell Ginny the theme of the day, and sometimes I don't even know where it's going to go. Just let the conversation take it wherever it's meant to go. But today, I don't think we've covered this yet, but I thought we would talk about dreams.
Okay.
And yeah, so we'll just dive right into the first question. What is the importance or purpose of dreams?
It is important to understand it is just another way for oneself to connect with oneself. There are those issues on the earth plane that can be easily resolved on the earth plane with the knowledge of one's experience of maybe additional lifetimes or additional experiences. And during a dream time, one is able to access that knowledge, that information that is hidden somewhere within one's innate self. We can tell you a dream serves that purpose. It is a connection to self. That is all it is. Sometimes there is a dream that is a connection to another that is helpful to the dreamer. And sometimes it is a healing venture. Do not be concerned. When the time is right for one to begin one's process of healing and being, one allows oneself the information required in order to complete that process. Sometimes it is done on the physical level, sometimes it is done on the spiritual level, and sometimes it is done in between, which is where it is that one allows oneself to connect with self in the dream state. Do not be concerned. When the time is right, the time is right, and all is love.
So, okay, so I have my own interpretation of that message, and I want to not fully go into my interpretation, but maybe get some clarity for others who are trying to interpret. So, I heard them say something about healing or connection to other lifetimes. Is it accurate to say that like the way the dream is like when you wake up and then you start describing the dream, like, oh, first I was here, but it wasn't really that, it was at my grandmother's, but it wasn't really my grandmother's house. And in other words, the exactness of the dream isn't really, am I correct in saying that the exact description and attributes of the dream are not what's necessarily important, but a lot of people will say, like, pay attention to the feeling, the emotion in the dream, and that is where there might be clues as to healings or past life connection in the emotion and not in like the story of the dream. Is that correct?
You're correct in your interpretation.
Okay.
But what you did say, Kelly, was that it's about the, I don't know why I can't remember
Healing?
at the moment. No, it's about like a past lifetime. It's not necessarily about a past lifetime. It's about connecting with knowledge that has been accrued or accumulated in a past lifetime, not necessarily the lifetime itself, not necessarily any of the trappings around what's in the dream. It's the knowledge that one is allowing oneself to connect with.
Okay, when you say knowledge, do you mean like literal, like knowing of facts and how-tos and information? Or,
It is important to understand that each one has lived many, many lifetimes. Each one comes to the earth plane to expand oneself. And when one allows oneself to complete a process, one stores away the information one has learned within that lifetime. Sometimes there is like a definite detail, and sometimes there is a feeling, and sometimes there is the knowledge that one has completed something specific or something important. We can tell you it is the knowledge that is important. It does not matter how the knowledge or when the knowledge was attained. It is just the knowing. And within one's lifetime, there are many reasons for one's knowing, and sometimes that knowing comes through in a dream. Sometimes that knowing comes through in just a knowing. And sometimes the knowing comes through without even the person who is giving the information knowing where the knowing comes from.
okay, so that's interesting because I often have, especially when I first started learning herbalism, like going to school for it, I would dream about plants and animals too. And at the time, while I was studying herbalism, I was also studying Native American spirituality. They don't really call it shamanism, but you know, the same idea of like um, the importance of animal symbolism and that sort of thing. And so I'd have a lot of dreams about animals and plants. So with what you're just saying in mind, like, oh, then it's the knowing that comes through. I guess a lot of people look for dream interpretation. Where am I going? I need to formulate a question here.
A lot of people look for dream interpretation for their interpretation in this lifetime. And a lot of the information that comes through is from a past lifetime's knowledge. It is not this lifetime. The knowledge, however, is quite pertinent if one is looking for the ability to allow oneself the indication of knowing and applies it to the it's like the knowing in a dream, but only in a dream. One cannot understand that it is the knowledge one has allowed oneself over one's many experiences of being. One believes that there is only one interpretation for this lifetime from that experience of the dream, rather than understanding that it is there for them to look into, to feel, to interpret in their own way, to allow the growth. It is not necessarily the answer that they are seeking. It is the ability to be who they are and move forward. We can tell you there are those who are very good at dream interpretation, and it is that part of them that allows themselves to connect with the other. It is not necessarily word for word or picture by picture. That is what is being conveyed.
Interesting. Love it. Yeah, because I know some of the dreams that I'd have with plants, it was like it did feel like it was answering or nudging me towards learning that plant more, or perhaps like that plant was a remedy that I needed at the time. But I think, I mean, I'm not saying that to advocate for that because obviously you want to know the plant before you start working with it. But the animals definitely struck me different. Like, I will tell you that for the last 2 years, I regularly have dreams about bears. and not just one bear, but like 5 to 10 bears in a single dream. And so, for me, my personal association with that is what I've been taught. And so it's like, oh, well, does that like, a couple of my Native American teachers will talk about bears as like keepers of the plant medicines. And so, okay, then that makes sense to me as an herbalist. Um, but yeah, so how is it because to me, I think it's always good to be able to interpret things yourself, even if you know someone who's really good at interpreting dreams. What would be a good exercise for our listeners to begin interpreting their dreams in a meaningful way? Or
It
is
is,
that,
uh,
I was gonna say, or is it not advisable because like you could read into it like wrongly or I don't know. Yeah, that's probably not.
it is important to understand that each one is well aware of who one is on the spiritual level, and each one is pretty well aware of who one is on the physical level. However, one on the physical level cannot be aware of who one is on the spiritual level. It is an unknown on the earth plane. Therefore, one allows oneself to connect with those images or those parts of self that are in connection mode, so to speak. They are there in order to let you know. For instance, with your bears, you are well protected. When it is that you believe that there is a problem in the herbal world, that perhaps you are having an issue with this plant or that plant, call on the bears. The bears will not let you run astray. That is the interpretation of your dream. You
Hmm.
cannot associate it in this lifetime as when you are out in the wild, so to speak, gathering your herbs, the bears are not present. However, they are there spiritually to help you discern what is right for you and what isn't. Therefore, the bears are a metaphor for safety and for understanding, and for you to understand that it is your knowledge that you have attained over many lifetimes that helps you move forward in the safety perspective of the plants that you are harvesting. In our estimation, it is important that you understand that when it is that you came to the earth plane, you have made many plans. Some are for helpers, some are for guides, some are for those parts of you and your own knowing. We would like you to understand that sometimes you are allowing yourself the freedom of understanding what is right for you without ever having to think about it. It is a dream's purpose to give information without the person ever having to think about it, understand it, move forward with it. However, one's own knowing knows exactly what is going on if the mental mind does not. And the mental mind, 99% of the time, does not. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Oh, that's so cool. Because I will be out and I don't always go out with the intention to harvest. Like even more so nowadays, I don't harvest. I just go out to appreciate and explore and see what's growing and connect spiritually with the plants. And I will feel like there's a bear on the other side of that hill.
Yeah.
Like I feel it. Like, is there a bear? Like it feels so visceral. And it's good to know that it's that it's just and it's spot on too, because no matter how long you practice as an herbalist, there seems to be this like underlying fear of like harming someone. And that's why I love flower essences, because I feel so free. Like I know I'm never going to harm someone with a flower essence. It just, I feel like very confident about that because it's just the energy. And also I take myself out of it now. It's not even me formulating. It's like my client's higher self is guiding me. But for a long time, and definitely the time I was dreaming of the bears, it was like, how do I know enough to be totally protected and safe and make sure I never harm someone by giving them the wrong plant? Like not the wrong that like I study the plant before I suggest it, but like what if it's the wrong plant for them and with their medications and with their constitution and like there's so many factors. I love that. I just love that so much. Thank you. That like brought so much peace to me. And that's something good for our listeners to witness. Like when Ginny channels, it's not just a message that comes through, it's also healing. I can feel that right now. Like, just this relief. And also now I feel like, oh, I'll call on bear energy before I even work with a client. Like, because that protection, for me, it's not protection from like the spirit world. I feel really good about protected there. It's like protection from ever potentially doing harm that like you never would want to do. And, you know, you do all your diligence and everything, but I guess you just never know. Thanks, Jenny. That was really
You're
great
welcome.
message.
I don't know if it was a dream or a meditation. What I saw was it's like a black jaguar, a big black jaguar sitting in a tree. But along with that black jaguar was a green one, a
Oh,
cat, just like the jaguar, huge, but it was green. I don't know what it meant. I still don't know what it meant, but it's okay because when I need that jaguar energy, whether it's green or black, it comes to me and I'll think of them. I don't even have to bring it to mind. When it's right for me, then it comes to my mind. But I was surprised to see a green jaguar.
yeah, because I don't think there's such thing in this. As
No, I don't think so.
feel like I'm gonna want to listen to this episode again because it feels layered.
I'm sure it is. Whatever the multitude channels, it's layered.
Yeah, even when I go back and listen to like edit it for the YouTube title and everything, I always hear something new when I listen the second time.
Yeah, when I do a private reading, I always tell people, listen to it again in a few days, and then a few weeks, and then a few months, because each time you listen, you'll hear something new. And either it'll be something new or it'll be something that um,
Like you miss.
makes more sense to you now. Even if it's not new, it makes more sense.
That's why I like the multitudes channelings because they feel very timeless.
Yeah.
And I have some readings that you did to me for me a long, long time ago, and I listen to them every once in a while, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Well,
and I get something new out of it. I love it.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
Here, let me see what else I have on this topic. Okay, well, let's stick with dreams a little bit. And just to clarify for some people, because I think a lot of people talk about dreams as if they are, or sleeping even, as if it's like, there's just a lot of language out there that I think can mystify things. And I like when the multitude kind of breaks it down for us and sets the record straight. Um, so let me see if I can formulate these thoughts into a question. So a lot of people will talk about like, oh, when we're dreaming or we're sleeping and we're dreaming, we're actually in another dimension as if like you have another life in another dimension and you're getting getting stuff done. Like you're working or you're learning or you're it's like it almost feels like living a parallel life the way people talk about it. Like, is there another purpose to sleeping and dreaming that they would like to make us aware of, or is it as simple as recharge the body and rest the mind and maybe bring awareness to certain energies like you were talking about earlier?
My thought, my knowing about that, and from what I've learned from the multitude, and then we'll ask them. But it's like we do work on another plane, like on the astral plane or whatever, while we are sleeping. The body needs to recharge, but that innate part of us, it still keeps on going. The knowing, the spiritual part of us, doesn't need the rest.
It's like our spiritual self is continuing on.
That's my understanding. We would like each of you to understand that there are many layers to being on the earth plane. Some are those that say, okay, well, I'm on the earth plane, I'm sleeping, I'm tired, that's it, I'm done. Then there are those who say, I'm tired, but I'm dreaming, so things are still happening and I'm able to move forward. Partly true. It is important to understand that as each one comes to the earth plane and completes the earth process, one is also completing a process on the spiritual plane. They are not mutually exclusive of the other. One is able to complete on the earth plane and the spiritual as well. When one moves forward in one area of being, the other area benefits. We would like you to understand that as each one moves forward in that dream world, so to speak, that it may or may not have anything to do with work that is going on in the spiritual. In our estimation, it is important to understand spiritual work is conducted on the spiritual level. Physical work, mind work, breath work are all conducted on the physical level. When one is able to relax and sleep and be in a place of nondescript being, while one is sleeping, one is able to connect with themselves in spirit. It is the spiritual self that is working. It is the spiritual self that continues to grow and understand and elevate itself. When one is in the dream world, so to speak, one is able to connect with oneself in the spiritual sense. However, the spiritual sense and the physical sense are not connected. It is that in between sense of being. Therefore, you might hear, okay, I'm in the dream world. Therefore, I am out here working and out there working. We can tell you when you are in the dream world, you are working, but differently than one might think. One is able to move forward from the physical in the sleep sense. One is able to move forward from the spiritual in the work sense. And when one is in that dream world or on the astral level, one is able to combine the two and complete a process. However, it is not always known on the mental level what the process is, why it is, or how it is. It is, in our estimation, not to be worried about. It is just a completion of being. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Yeah, I feel like people glamorize it, I guess, is, you know, I like how they said you don't necessarily know because I don't know, I get a little turned off when I hear people like, yeah, I had this dream and I must have been working in the astral field and it's like the savior kind of like I was saving this and I was doing that and I don't know, and I'm like, how do you really know that?
Yeah.
Um, but then there's people who can drive their dreams, like it's like almost in between that sleep. and wakefulness where they can control what happens next.
You mean like lucid dreaming?
Yeah,
I hate lucid dreaming.
you do that.
Once in a while, I will do that. But what I call lucid dreaming is when I'm dreaming, but I'm watching it and participating in it. And when I am doing that, then I don't sleep. I don't sleep well, and I wake up tired, and I wake up, it's not good for me to do that. That's what I call lucid dreaming. I'm not quite sure if it is that or something different.
Well, let's see what the multitude has to say about it. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
What, do you want me to ask a question?
please.
So what can you say about lucid dreaming in the way that Ginny just described?
It is important to understand that one is always involved in one's dreams. However, one is not always involved on the physical level. When one allows oneself to connect with one's dreams on the physical level, then one is in a state of what one would call lucid dreaming, as one is mentally there as well. When one is able to move forward from that level of being, one is able to say, okay, this is what I know on the earth plane. This is what I would like. And how is it that they work together? We can tell you what one would like and what one knows on the earth plane are two completely different areas of being, as what one would like is directly connected with those parts of self that are in spirit, and the what I know on the earth plane is directly connected to the physical plane. Therefore, when one is in contention with the other, it's like they don't resonate. It's not a relaxing state to be in. Therefore, it's like in my case, in her case, they're saying, she is unable to make the connections required and is allowing her physical self to control the information, to give the information, to hear the information, but not complete the information. And on the spiritual level, it can be completed unbeknownst to the person on the physical level. We can tell you that sometimes it is quite disconcerting. And that is the state she finds herself in when she is in what she terms as lucid dreaming.
Okay, well, what's the remedy?
I asked if there is a remedy, and I didn't get anything.
Okay.
One decides what one needs, and one decides how to complete the process. And if it is that one is requiring a mental knowing of the process, one allows it to happen. There is no remedy, there is no condition. It is just a matter of one knowing on the earth plane what one needs, and one knowing in spirit what one needs. And when one is able to complete the two simultaneously, one is able to move oneself forward. In our estimation, that is all that there is. It is no great feat of accomplishment. It is just a way of being, and all is love.
Does that make you feel better, Ginny, or no?
No great feat of accomplishment.
Or just knowing that, like, to understanding it better.
Yeah, a little bit. I just don't like when it happens because my physical body gets exhausted.
Yeah. Do you have any questions about dreams, Ginny?
I do not.
All right, well, maybe, I mean, I feel like if we're talking about dreams and people are seeking answers, I would imagine someone who like Googles this topic and comes across this episode, they're probably people who have nightmares.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I remember having one friend just having like reoccurring nightmares, and they were terrible, like just awful really awful stuff, visuals that she didn't want to have to see again, and wanting to understand how to not have these dreams again. And so let me see if I can formulate a question. Is there anything that we've not addressed that would be significant as to understand deeper as it pertains to nightmares, and how what advice they can give to people with nightmares to help them feel more at ease?
It is important to understand that it's like nightmares have a reason for being. It is about completing a process that had been begun and not being able to have been finished in one's experience of being. We can tell you there are times when you in particular have had a lifetime where you have decided it was right for you to go to war. However, as a female at that time, you could not go to war. And when it is that you finally decided it was right for you to fake your appearance and go to war, you had wished you hadn't, as it was quite gruesome. Indeed, we can tell you when you have a nightmare, you revisit that time of your being, that time that says, this is what I wanted, but it was not right for me. Therefore, I am unable to complete it, and I am unable to release it. When one is in a state of nightmare, one is trying to complete a process that is uncompletable. Therefore, we would highly recommend that one honor oneself, one honor those feelings of misgiving, those feelings of I'm getting horror, shame, indecision, inability to be, and allow oneself to understand that one did the very best that one could do, and that is all that is required. In our estimation, a nightmare has a purpose, and on the earth plane, it cannot be seen, felt, heard, or understood. However, on the spiritual plane, it can be completed in all of those areas. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Wow.
Hmm.
And they were talking about the person who had a lifetime of war and they were a woman, but are they talking about me? Are they talking about the person I was referencing, or are they talking about you?
How was you?
Oh, maybe that's why I can't watch gruesome movies.
Could
Like,
be.
cannot. Like Game of Thrones, like the gut and the blood and stuff, I can't. Interesting. Good to know. I feel like that might round out the topic nicely.
Okay.
So it feels like dreams are a place where we can um, process certain aspects of being that have been incomplete. Therefore, they can be healing. They can be like a place of integration, rest. I don't know, what else? I'm trying to summarize what I got out of that.
I don't know, but I did not expect to cover dreams today.
Surprise.
Dreams are just another way to process things that we can't always understand on the earth plane. I know lots of
Summary.
what
I like that. That was a great summary.
I think a lot of times I'll get an answer about I'll ask something and they'll say, there are so many things on the spiritual plane that cannot be understood on the physical plane.
Yeah.
And, and that may be one of them. I think for me, sometimes I just have to remember that something that needs to be worked out is being worked out. And I just have to let it go.
So I want to share, just for fun's sake, two reoccurring dreams I had as a kid.
Okay.
One was a nightmare. For me, it was, I was being chased in a stretch limo that seemed to go on forever, that I could run through. I was being chased by Michael Jackson, who I loved as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, and there were strobe lights going on and colored lights, and there was disco ball lights, and I'm trying so hard to run away from him. For some reason he's chasing me, and I wake up every single time. That was one reoccurring. I have that dream every single night. And then I'd wake up, and then I'd wake up scared, and that was a whole other thing. And the other reoccurring dream I'd have as a kid, I don't know if it was a dream, because I feel like I could see myself laying in my bed, and then I could see a cloud over my bed, but I was also somehow in the cloud, even though I could also witness it. And in the cloud were all the Care Bears having a party and eating cake and eating all these delicious desserts, and they'd offer me one, and I'd say, I can't, because I can't taste it. I'm only dreaming. And meanwhile, like, we were definitely restricted as to how many sweets we could have as kids. And here I have this dream, and there's all the cake I could want, and I'm not even taking it because I know I can't taste it. And then I would fall from the cloud into my bed, and every time I land in my bed, that's when I'd wake up.
Ah, yeah. Well, that makes sense. It was like an out-of-body experience for you.
Yeah, I guess so. So people talk about that too, like these out of body and like falling, right? I think do you hear that a lot, Jenny? Have you heard that before about people like falling into their bed?
No, but my understanding of what that is when you wake up at a start like that, and I've had that happen, is that you are having an out-of-body experience. And when you um, have that start, it's you getting back into your body.
Yeah.
We
I
can tell you that that is one way for someone to explain the experience. However, the experience is that part of oneself that is able to allow oneself to experience on both levels simultaneously, to not be concerned all is love.
Interesting. Um, oh, maybe we can ask one question about astral travel, because I think it kind of goes in with that. I did try this once. I remember reading about astral travel, and I thought of the whole Care Bear situation where I'm witnessing myself, so I thought, like, oh, I wonder if that was astral travel, because they say like you can see yourself laying there. And actually, we have a couple of friends who do astral travel.
Oh,
They have some really interesting experiences. So there's this concept that you can consciously choose to astral travel, and there'll be people that tell you how to do it, and the mechanics of how you go about doing that. Maybe the multitude can say something about astral travel. Is it advisable? What is it exactly? What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? Anything they want to share about astral travel?
it is important to understand that when one decides one is ready for astral travel, it is that one is very discontented on the earth plane and looking for something more about themselves for themselves. When one is able to move forward on the earth plane and achieve or allow the accomplishments in the physical, they are no longer, it's like looking or requiring the next step of being that they believe that they need to accomplish. They are quite able and ready to accomplish that which is right to be accomplished on the earth plane. When one does astral travel, it is quite an experience. It is a different level of being and knowing, and not always very, how do I want to say this? It's not always very beneficial for one to travel in such a way. We can tell you it could be, it's like a fun experience. It could be a relatable experience where they could share. It could be that part of oneself that continues to look for something they believe they need. However, in our estimation, one would be wise to refrain from traveling in such a way as it serves no purpose.
Interesting.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
I guess it can be thought of as an escapism, like to leave your body because maybe you're distracting yourself from the here and now.
I guess.
And so, okay, well,
But these people who do they do it during the day? Do they doing it at night when they're sleeping? Is it beyond your physical mental control because you're sleeping? There's all kinds.
they do it intentionally and not outside of sleep. Outside of I'm going to bed and it's like I'm going to lay down right now and I'm going to practice astral traveling.
Okay.
And there's like books that talk about like first you do this, then you do that, like the mechanics of it.
Mm.
Okay, so but like some people will talk about how they're okay, I'm curious, since now we're talking, I think I just opened Pandora's box, okay. And maybe that's just it. Maybe it's opening Pandora's box that they advise not to. I'm curious more about why they advise not to, if it's because some people will talk about the importance of protection and that when you do this, you're vulnerable. And like one friend talks about like how she's seen aliens and it wasn't a good experience, and other people talk about like harmful entities. What would the multitude say about that?
I don't understand what you want to know about that.
Um, is this something to be concerned about? Is that one of the reasons they advise not to do it? Is there something they want to share on that topic?
It is important to understand it is most beneficial for each one to stay on the earth plane when they're on the earth plane. It is also important to understand if one chooses to explore other areas of being, that when it is that they come across something that is untruthful or uneventful for them, that they look for the part of self that resonates with the experience that they are having. If they cannot find that part of self, they will have a very negative experience, as they will believe it is something outside of themselves. And if it is that they can find that part within themselves, it will not be a negative experience. It will be a very pleasant one. Therefore, we would highly recommend that each one look within oneself for that part of self that is them. There is no need to be going traveling elsewhere to find themselves. And all is love.
Interesting. So it kind of feels like what they're saying, and tell me if you agree with this, Ginny, and if they want to interject and correct me. That like basically what you see while astral traveling is information about yourself, is to be interpreted as some sort of a mirror. Because they said something about look for the part that resonates with that part of self.
Right.
So if someone sees something that feels fearful, that makes them feel fearful, the assignment seems to be examine your fears. That what you're seeing is not something outside of yourself. You're seeing something reflected back to you about yourself. Is that correct?
Well, that could be, and I'm not really getting anything on that. It seems to me that, if you're traveling in the astral world, that it probably is something that either you were afraid to experience somewhere along the line, or that is not for you to experience, and so there's nothing there to connect with it. There's no resonance there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything more about it. We would like each of you to understand that if it is that one is on the earth plane, we highly recommend that each one stay on the earth plane, as the astral travel can be quite interesting, but not very fulfilling, not very meaningful, and not for the faint of heart. And all is love.
Did I ever tell you, Ginny? So I tried this once because it was like in the beginning when I was exploring these topics and I wasn't even like talking to anyone about it. I think I was still like in the spiritual closet. And I read something and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. I laid down to bed and they say like do it when nobody's home. Well, my whole family was home. I broke all the rules. My husband's already sleeping in bed. My kids are sleeping. And I was, following the instructions and I did. I started to feel myself leave my body. And just as I started to feel that, my youngest son came and he was little at the time. I mean, he was little. I don't know, between 4 and 8 years old. And he comes in like a zombie. He's half asleep and I come back into my body. And I'm like, what's going on, buddy? Bring him back to his room, tuck him in, get him back to sleep, come back to my room. Okay, I'm gonna try it again. Just as I'm starting to leave my body, here he comes again. It was almost as if he was like, stay put. Like some
Not for,
part.
yeah, it's not for you.
Yeah. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna take that as a sign. Two strikes, it's not meant to be. And then yeah, never really tried it again.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'll say I did feel afraid of it because of what you hear about it. So I was trying it, and yet I was afraid to try it while trying it.
Well, your son took good care of that. He knew what was going on, I guess.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about astral travel?
It's never really interested me much. What I've known about astral travel is to do it during sleep time. And when you do it during, or my opinion, or what I've experienced during sleep time, if I've traveled, it's to help someone or to learn something. If I try, I've never tried to do it otherwise.
I was gonna say, are you saying like you set the intention to do it while you were sleeping, or if you just know it happens while you're sleeping?
Um, I don't know it until like I wake up the next day and, oh, I was this or I was that. And it's like,
Yeah.
um, I went, and it could seem like a dream or sound like a dream. It could be that. So, I don't really have much resonance with it other than, if I'm sleeping and I go and like you said, I was helping you in the astral at one point, and it's like, okay, I'm happy with that, but I didn't know that. So I don't know. I don't know any, it's not my thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. Hmm. I'm trying to decide if I ask this next question or make it part of another episode. Okay, well, I'll ask it. Okay, so I've been reading this book. It was written in like 1941, I think. And the author, I think I told you about this the other day when we were hanging out. The author is probably in his 60s when he wrote it. So here's a guy who was born in the late 1800s And so you could feel just even in the style of writing, how old this book was. And it's called Psychic Healing. I wish I could remember the author's name. It's a little teeny tiny book. I don't even know how it got on my shelf. I think my uncle from London sent it. And anyway, I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, this is so validating. It's very much in line with the work that I do, and how interesting, because it's like what, 85-year-old book at this point, or 80-something-year-old book, 82. And anyway, so this guy is talking about how he's basically talking about energy work. The book's called Psychic Healing. He's talking about energy work. He's talking about remote healing, but he's talking about working with this group of spirit doctors. And the way he describes them is, it's like, imagine all the people who incarnated as, what, you're getting something already?
I'm just feeling all the spirit doctors coming in.
Well, you should feel them already, because this is who I sent to you.
Yes, but they don't always stay around. They come
Oh, okay.
and they go. Like
Hi, spirit doctors.
different
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess this is going to be a longer episode, but I'll try to wrap it up. So he's talking about these spirit doctors, and I think of them as like a collective of people who incarnated as humans and became doctors or specialists in their field, but not just like, Western medicine doctors, but like, you know, um, gosh, I've got all these words in my head and now it's messing up my speech, but because now I guess maybe I'm feeling them. But it's like, tribal medicine people, indigenous medicine people all over the world. So, in this book, he's talking about, don't just invite your your orthopedic surgeons and your pulmonary, whatever, invite in all healers, right? All that, these spirit doctors, and invite them to help assist you in energy healing. And so anyway, I've been like playing around with that. And I've been playing around with that for a long time, but when you read something like it lands differently. So that's kind of like what my experience was when I was reading this book. But so I think, so what I've been doing is like calling these spirit doctors in during my sessions, and then kind of scheduling a remote healing while people are sleeping.
I,
And
I like scheduling the remote healing. I think that's fun.
yeah, because you don't have to do anything. So I just imagine that they're here with me, and I'm like, look, we got this guy, and he's got these problems, and this is what he wants fixed, and like, could you just go to him while he's sleeping tonight, and then do your thing and fix this and fix that. Anyway, I don't know why I don't know what the question is, but I feel like it ties into the topic because we're talking about astral travel, which really is like an incarnated person connecting, kind of pulling, I guess that's not even the right term, but like leaving their body and traveling. I think of this as like the opposite, these spiritual beings coming and helping us through our physical body for healing. Is there a message about that? The benefits, the drawbacks, how people can begin doing this work for themselves in conjunction with.
It is important to understand that each one has the ability to connect with themselves in spirit. Therefore, is that part of self and spirit that connects with others. When one is willing to allow another's expertise, one connects with oneself on the earth plane with oneself in spirit, and allows that part of self and spirit to connect with others in spirit, and allow the information to flow, allow the love, allow the healing, and allow the being. We would like each of you to understand that as it is that you connect with yourself and allow yourself on earth to connect with yourself in spirit, You will allow yourself in spirit to connect with each and every other one. It is how it works. It is all energy, and it is done and completed on the energetic level. And when one has allowed it to complete on the energetic level, then one allows the information to flow through to the physical level and allow the healing to take place on the physical level. However, it is oneself that facilitates the process. Do not be concerned, all is love.
Good, I needed to hear that.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's as simple as intention, right? Like I wish for myself in spirit to allow and connect with others in spirit that can bring forth to me to deliver the healing of me to me. Because it's the inside job.
It's
We
always an
for
inside,
ourselves.
always an inside job.
Yeah, I needed that reminder.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, I think that's it for today. I don't know. Do you have anything, Ginny?
No, I think that's good. We've covered quite a bit today.
We did. We really did.
I
Um,
didn't expect dreams. That was new.
that's a fun topic. All right, we got some big ones, some other big topics coming up, so we'll look forward to those ones next. Thank you to the multitude. They feel good. They feel like it is a good closing point.
It is important to understand that we are most pleased to have been asked for our service. It is important that you understand that when one does the asking, one also does the receiving, and we are most able to allow each one the ability to receive our information, and we are most pleased to share it. Do not be concerned, all is love. We would also like each one to understand that as the time goes by on the earth plane, it is a very short, like drop in the bucket on the spiritual plane, and each one will return with far more information than they arrived on the earth plane with. Therefore, each one will have grown, each one will have expanded, and each one will incorporate that knowing into who they are on the spiritual plane. Do not be concerned, all is love. So thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Jenny.
I appreciate your inquisitive mind.
I'm glad somebody does.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you'll be back again.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.